So Bank of England refuses to release Venezuela's gold. I guess they should have had Bitcoin, huh? We're going to be talking about this more. We're going to be talking about this article and really the impact of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in the place of gold as far as gold reserves for countries. Most people don't ever think about this happening, and most people simply dismiss it or they're unaware of it. We're going to go more into details about this, and I'm going to dissect it and kind of just talk this through in some ways that you may or may not have ever thought about. First of all, let me just say this real quickly. CryptoTab browser, big shout out to CryptoTab. I am loving this browser, earning free cryptocurrency every single day just for using the CryptoTab browser. It's phenomenal, it pays out, it's awesome, and it's just like free Bitcoin. And who knows what these Satoshis are going to be worth one day when just earning free cryptocurrency. Every time I get 100,000 Satoshi, I do a withdrawal. It takes me somewhere between 7 to 10 days to get 100,000 Satoshi typically. And it's phenomenal. Enough about that. There's a link down below. I will also tell you that I sent an email out to my passive income to freedom list down below. You can see it in the description. It's just an email list, and I sent out. I haven't even. It's an unlisted video. I've not even put it up on YouTube publicly, so you can't even see it. But it's another passive income strategy methodology that I'm kind of looking at. And I'm testing it out. And the first people who heard about it, the only people that I've sent 2 videos out talking about it today. But that is down below in the comments. If you want to get the latest info on that, subscribe down to the passive income strategy link down in the description. All right. So let's talk about this for a minute. Bank of England refuses to release Venezuela's gold. I think this is kind of interesting and crazy. And I see both sides of this. But it's very fascinating. 3 days ago, when we reported the following, Trump's latest sanctions targeting Venezuela's gold sector, President Maduro was seeking to repatriate all of Venezuela's gold, some 14 tons, held at the Bank of England. We cautioned that since the Bank of England sought to clarify what Venezuela wants to do with the gold, this suggested that despite Venezuela being the rightful owner of this gold, Venezuela was about to face challenges in getting it back. Today, the worst case for Venezuela's president was confirmed when the Times reported the Bank of England has refused to release the gold bars worth $550 million to President Nicolas Maduro. According to the Times, the reason the Bank of England has refused release is due to its insistence that standard measures to prevent money laundering be taken. Is this being for real? This is, again, this money laundering thing. This is always the excuse to put controls on capital being money, or in this case gold, including clarification of Venezuela's government's intentions of the gold. The government has to give their intentions of the gold. There are concerns that Mr. Maduro may seize the gold, which is owned by the state, and sell it for personal gain, the newspaper said. Now, granted, Maduro, his presidency is being contested right now, but the reality is the country is in financial turmoil. And what's interesting is, would they have used a similar concern had his presidency not been contested? Who knows? But the reality is the fact that they can easily say, oh no, he's currently the rightful person at this moment to say, hey, we would like to have our gold back. And the fact that the Bank of England can say, no, we don't want you to have it. Separately, as we reported on Monday, an official told Reuters that the repatriation plan has been held up for nearly 2 months due to difficulty in obtaining insurance for the shipment needed to move large gold cargo. Listen to this. This sounds crazy. 2 months ago, I mean, his presidency hasn't been as hotly contested 2 months ago as it is right now. But 2 months ago, he was having problems getting the gold back, which meant that he tried to get it back even before then. Why? Oh, because we're not certain that we have the right insurance for the shipment needed to move large gold cargo. I mean, this, honest to goodness, this almost sounds like some company's exit scam. They're still trying to find insurance coverage because the costs are so high, an official told Reuters. What do you mean? There's $550 million in gold there. What do you mean the cost is high? Sell some gold, pay for the insurance. As we reported on Monday, Venezuela's gold located in the Bank of England was previously used as collateral until last year, backing loans up to several billions of dollars from global banks. Maduro is not the first to attempt to repatriate the country's gold. By the way, there's something interesting here. If most countries want gold, if most countries want to borrow money, they have to put up collateral. The U.S. is one of the few countries that don't have to put up collateral to other countries. I want you to catch that. Greece went through a tremendous amount of issues, and their bond market was collapsing, and all this stuff here about 5 years ago. Greece was not in near the amount of debt, even as far as a ratio, even as if you say in comparison to country size and GDP size, they were not near the amount of debt that the U.S. is in. But most people can't understand why the U.S. is allowed to go into so much debt. It's because our dollar currently is still considered a safe asset, even though it's getting devalued by the year because they're printing so much of it and they're borrowing money out of thin air. And if you don't understand that, you have to go look at I'll put at the very end of this video, I'll link a video called Money as Debt. If you understand money as debt, then this is going to make sense what I'm talking about. And it's important that if you're going to be in the cryptocurrency space, that you understand these fundamentals that I'm discussing. But other countries have to put up collateral. For instance, in this case, Venezuela had to put up their gold reserves as collateral. Maduro is not the first to attempt to repatriate the country's gold. Venezuela's late socialist leader, Hugo Chavez, sensing which way the wind is blowing and citing the need for Venezuela to have physical control of central bank assets, in 2011 repatriated around 160 tons of gold from the banks in the United States and Europe to the central bank in Caracas. But some of Venezuela's gold remained in the Bank of England. Started in 2014, Venezuela used this gold for swap operations in which global banks lent Venezuela several $billion with the gold as collateral. Okay. This is interesting right here. Venezuela's late socialist leader, Hugo Chavez, sensing which way the wind was blowing and citing the need for Venezuela to have physical control of central bank assets. So he understood that other governments could take his gold. See, as Americans, as a normal American citizen who's never had any large business at all, you've never seen in most cases, something awkward happen in the financial industry. Now, if you've had larger businesses, I've got a buddy of mine, or he's really an acquaintance one time, I know this guy, but I don't know him super well, but we were talking one day, and we were talking about 2007, 2008 financial crisis, and he said that financial crisis put his shipping yard out of business, and I've mentioned this before on my channel. And I said, what do you mean to put your shipping yard out of business? He said, well, I own a shipyard, I own a shipyard. I've been building boats and doing boat repairs my entire life. And several years ago, I went in business for myself. But he had a $750,000 credit line, which he said he used basically for cash flow. He'd do large repairs, and it would take him 30, 60, 90 days to get paid back. And he said he kept about $200,000 to $400,000 on this credit line at all times. It was just operating expenses, is how his business operated. And he said during the financial crisis, all of a sudden, because banks were having to shore up their books, they called him and said, hey, basically your credit line is due, and he had 30 days to pay it up. He could not pull the money together in 30 days. He said it would have took him almost 6 months just from accounts receivables and whatnot to pull that money together. Nobody else was willing to lend him money against his accounts receivables. It literally put his shipyard out of business. He had to declare bankruptcy, even though he had accounts receivables that would have covered it within 6 months, 9 months tops. Everything, without him getting any new business or whatever, which he said, I'm not going to be able to get new business, obviously, because he didn't have a line of credit. So it literally put him out of business. But if you've never went through something like that, you've never had a mortgage recalled. Most people don't realize when you have a home mortgage, the bank has a right to call your mortgage due, and you have to pay it due typically within 30, 60, 90 days if you read the fine print on your mortgage. Most people have a 30-year mortgage. They're oblivious that something like that is even possible. Now, you think about this for a minute. Another country has a rightful asset to their assets, and even Hugo Chavez knew there was a chance that they were going to try to keep him from getting gold that was arguably rightfully his to use for his country. I mean, he was the leader of the country, whether you like him or not. So let's keep going. Meanwhile, as shown in the chart above, Venezuela's central bank statistics show that the central bank's gold holdings by June of this year has dropped to 160 tons from 364 tons in 2014, as some of the swap agreements expired without Venezuela returning the funds, leaving the gold in the hands of the banks, meaning they ended up keeping the collateral, which was the gold. By 2017, swap agreements with Caracas became impossible due to U.S. sanctions, which blocked U.S. financial institutions from bankrolling any new financing operations while leaving the legal fate of pledged gold in limbo. Last week, Washington imposed new restrictions against Venezuela, targeting the country's gold exports, accusing Maduro's government of looting Venezuela's stocks of the precious metals amid the country's economic crisis. The sanctions, which target U.S. individuals and companies trading in Venezuelan gold, was announced by the U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton, with Bolton also branding Caracas a member of the Troika of Tyranny along with Cuba and Nicaragua. Venezuela has made a concerted effort to become a major gold exporter and is engaged in certifying some 32 gold fields and building 54 processing plants in a bid to become what Maduro said would be the second largest gold reserve on earth. All right, some of these comments are very, very interesting. And Zero Hedge has a unique group. It's worth checking out Zero Hedge from time to time. They have some great articles. Venezuela can kiss that gold at the Bank of England goodbye, probably. Look out, all nations of the world, don't let the Bank of England guard your gold because they might find a reason to keep it. Can you imagine there in the UK for all the citizens whose salaries go to a UK bank and suddenly their bank feels they can keep their money because, nice, what a bunch of thieves. Considering the antics of the English over there over these past 1,000 years, notoriously for their plundering and pillage of almost every country on earth, blah, blah, blah. And it's gone. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. This is good. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. The gold was stolen by corrupt British authorities decades ago. It simply does not exist in the Bank of England vaults anymore. The Know Your Customer requests are just a cover-up for fraud. The ordinary citizens of Britain can counter this corruption if they are tired of also being mistreated by similar ways by going in large numbers to the local bank branches and withdrawing most of their cash. Then see what happens. It would be called a run on the bank. If every citizen went to their country, every single central bank does what's called fractional reserve banking. If you don't know what that is, you definitely should watch the documentary at the end of this video called Money as Debt. But if every citizen went and tried to withdraw their money, the money is not there. It's called fractional reserve banking. That is a real thing. That's another reason to love Bitcoin. First of all, Bitcoin's difficult to take. I actually had an interesting experience that happened with me several years ago. I had ordered some gold online. I do have a little bit of gold and silver. I don't talk about it much on this channel, but one of the reasons I like Bitcoin was I think that Bitcoin in a lot of ways is better than gold and silver. It's easy to transport, it's easy to hold, it's easy to buy, and it's easy to keep secure. But I had a little bit of gold, only about $300 worth, that I had stored with a company online, and I was planning to take delivery of it. I was just waiting. I was buying a little bit here and there. And basically, I'd kind of forgotten about it. I mean, I knew it was there, but I was in no hurry. I thought it was fine. Company went bankrupt. I actually joined a class action lawsuit against that company. I think I got me a check for like $64 or something crazy like that. And that was 2 or 3 years later. But that gold, that money is essentially gone. The thing is, with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, that doesn't happen. It's not easy for someone to take it. They can't confiscate it, and you haven't got to worry about it being inflated away. I promise you, Maduro, as long as he continues to be president for now, he absolutely wishes that he had control of his gold, but he doesn't. He left it in control of the Bank of England. And quite honestly, one of the problems with, and I'm going to do a video sooner or later on Bitcoin versus precious metals. But one of the problems with gold is if you, you end up with 5,000, 10,000. Well, I can tell you a true story. I know, a friend of a friend, basically a buddy of mine, who's a good friend of mine. He had a client that he was a financial advisor. He had a client that had about $55,000 of silver in his house. He told a friend of his about his silver. His friend was one of the few people that knew about it. Yeah, one of these days his friend killed him for his silver. That's a true story according to my buddy, and which was a client of his that got killed. Over $55,000 in silver. No, that's just not worth losing your life over. But if it was Bitcoin, no one can easily confiscate your Bitcoin from any country or whatnot. And it's stuff like this. Right now, Venezuela, the only reason Bank of England can do this is because Venezuela is not a popular country in the world right now, and the president's not a popular president. And he's being contested by this guy, Guido, whatever his name is. So that's the only reason they can get away with it right now. But when you see this kind of stuff happening, and it's interesting to note that he was trying to pull this money or this gold back 2 or 3 months ago. And who knows when he originally put in the request, how long he got stalled. I mean, he could have tried this 6 or 7 months ago. We don't know that. But back then, he wasn't in the news right then, and I don't think his presidency was as hotly contested as it is right now. So you just got to ask yourself, what's going on? I mean, it makes you wonder, is the gold there? Like, is it there? Like, who audits that? Who proves that the gold is there? Why would they have stalled with something like insurance? I mean, how did the gold get there in the first place? Who insured the shipment then? I mean, there's a couple things about this article that just doesn't feel right. And the idea, first of all, that one country can stop another country from getting their gold. I mean, look, and I guess there's a saying that possession is 9/10 of the law, so I guess possession is all that really counts. Newsflash, dear central banks, don't hold gold, hold Bitcoin. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. We're currently a part of the crypto revolution. If you like this kind of content and you agree with me and you believe that cryptocurrency and Bitcoin is the future of technology and the future of our entire monetary system, please make certain that you hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up, and I'd love to hear your comments on what you think about this article. Thank you so much for watching.